by bread alone. Yeah, this word got food in it. Stepping on the devil dome. You should see the bruise in it. Backing out the scripts. Told a demon to stand down. Go against the Most High. We gon' see how it pan out. The Father gave me hope. Fill me with the ghosts. Now they hate it when I glow. Joseph with the coat. Looking for their fruit, but they ain't got no cantaloupe. The Messiah or Belial, you can't be a fan of both. Can't serve two masters. Bread of heaven with the living water, yeah, serving up a truth platter. We ain't idolizing no folly, now we setting up a new standard. When Christ touched down, make the whole earth shake like Bruce Banner. Yeah, bringing them troops to ya. End times getting spookier. Warfare getting nuclear. Mankind getting goofier. They intoxicated with a wine, damn, she done roofied them. I'm checking every word. Spirit doctrine like a proofreader. I hate these Nicolatans. Hate these graven idols, man, I hate these flipping pagans. Trying to play my father and I hate these imitations. Screaming out Hosanna, we escape that simulation. Better flee them evil deeds or else that lake is where you layin'. Great is he inside of me, casting out this net like I was by the Sea of Galilee. Harvest gonna be plenty, but the laborers are few. Matthew 17 and 20, there ain't nothing we can't do. I can't be no lukewarm, fringes with the blue on. Devil wanna deal, but I told him this ain't Groupon. Praise to the Almighty, you know we gon' sing a new song. Hail the King of King, the Ultra Low, no Jimmy Neutron. If you keep his laws and his commands, then we can fellowship. I don't get with Pharisees and I don't rock with Hellenists. I am praising man, cause only Father get my reverence. I'm swimming in the word, it got me feeling like a yellowfin. Yeah, big stepper, Mr. Demon Chin Checker, trying to hear that well done, cause I feel that displeasure. Father pouring out the wrath, and he got a big measure. If it ain't about the kingdom, then I don't give a six letter. You got faith in the Messiah, you got power. I was clean up in that blood just like a shower. Isaiah 5, you were the vine that came out sour. But now we stand and giving glory in this hour. Yeah, we breaking them curses, fleeing the ways of the serpent. Follow his word and pray for discernment, cause they want us laying in hearses. We gotta rise up, raise and resurface. Choose life and stay in your purpose. The price was paid like a merchant, through Christ who came as a servant. See, the kingdom is really the bag, but yet somehow they chasing a Birkin. After this you ain't getting a chance. While you living you can't better search him. Gotta call on his name like his urchin. Never knowing that day is emerging. So repent at the weight of perversions. Judgment coming, that thing is for certain. Let's go.
All right, Shalawam, Shalawam family. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all glory, and all honor to the Most High God, whose name is Yahawah. Of course, I do so in the name of his only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahawashi, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. It's your brother, Yasharahla, and I'm about to be joined today by my brothers. We got the priest, YAHAWAH, and Shar Kahan, YAHAWAH, and we got shanyam-ishar here from the House of Bread, and we are getting ready to do a breakdown of the book of Genesis through the spirit and power of Yahawah, shanyam-ishar, all praise to the Most High. It is the Shabbat, it is the Holy Sabbath, so Shabbat Shalawam to all the true Sabbath keepers, my lunar Sabbath brothers and sisters. All right. Make sure you guys like and share the video. Again, make sure you guys like and share the video. And if you have the ability to, if you're watching this on a mobile device, there should be a new feature called hyping the video. So if you could hype the video, that would be beautiful through the spirit and power of Yahawah, shanyam-ishar. What's going on, Akim?
Shalawam, broski.
Shalom, man.
I'm Tawadath.
All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. All right, so we're gonna get into this in a minute. Sarah from Genesis, ask me that question tomorrow, right? Because today we're strictly talking about business today, right? Talking about the word of the Most High God, right? So, shout out to all the brothers and sisters who are in this truth for real, right? Who are truly seeking the kingdom of the Most High God, keeping his laws, statutes, commandments. Us here at the House of Bread, our motto is Matthew 4:4, right? So the intro track is a track by a brother from Canada, from Toronto, brother by the name of Jake Jubel. He's also a lunar Sabbath keeper, so shout out to that brother. And that freestyle is called Matthew 4:4 freestyle, right? So Matthew 4:4, right? Yahawashi is being tempted of the devil, right? And he's being tempted as he's fasting, and his response to the devil, as the devil tempts him to turn stones into bread for him to eat and break his fast, he of course quoted the scriptures, right? He quoted the Torah, and he quoted what's that, Deuteronomy? Is that 8:3? Kahan, you're on mute.
Khan, it is Deuteronomy 8:3.
Kahan, right? So it says, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God. And that's what we seek to do here at the House of Bread, is to feed the sheep with the bread of life, which is Hamashiach Yahawashi, right? And of who is the word of God, right? We have to eat, as the scriptures say, the whole roll, right? Eat the bitter with the sweet, right? So that we can be fully nourished individuals, right, in this truth, right? So that's what we come to do, man. Come to feed the sheep, to come to feed our people with the truth and knowledge of self, and of course the understanding of the scriptures. Sister Shelly Burke, the YAHAWAH, Barakath, Yahawashi, for your continuous support, sister. All right, that's right. Shout out to the brother Yashar. He said, "Eat this book." This is what we gotta do, man. All right, you gotta yum it up. All praise to the Most High. So tomorrow, actually, I'm gonna be. Like I said, it's the Shabbat. So I'm actually going to be going live tomorrow at around 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let me just pull this up really quickly. Make sure you guys hit the bell icon, right? If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Also, make sure you're subscribed to House of Bread Camp on YouTube as well. We are also simulcasting here as well. Give me 1 second. So there's been a lot of controversy going on in the Hebrew Israelite community as of late, right? The conversation's been about Paul, whether or not he taught that it was okay or that it was no big deal to eat things sacrificed to idols, right? Our stance, of course, here at the House of Bread is that you cannot eat things sacrificed to idols. It's actually a sin punishable by death. Right? So if y'all want to F around and find out, that's on y'all, right? Some of y'all going to be eating Thanksgiving dinner, right? Christmas dinner, and the Most High God's going to judge you. He is 1,000% going to judge you, all right? Let me just make sure I got the right one. Boom, here we go.
Kind of Salaki on that too. That's like the most Christian sounding doctrine you can come up with. Oh, if I pray over it, then the idolatrous food now becomes clean and I can eat it. That some of y'all Israelites sound like Christians, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But then we need to go ahead and let's switch over. Boom. So let me present, share my screen. Nope. So yeah, tomorrow, right? Shout out to, first of all, before we dive into the video, shout out to all the brothers, right? My former Sakari comrades, right? And every brother who was once a member of Sakari, right? Who of course made the right moves and getting away from that polluted, tainted house and building their own house. So shout out to the brothers Jacob Lantern, right? They slid on the ISUPK, the so-called home of the truth, this past weekend. And from what I'm hearing, it was embarrassing on the part of the so-called home of the truth, right? And the debate, of course, was on whether or not John the Baptist, who Hamashiach Yahawashi says is Elijah, who he said is the greatest prophet ever. Somehow that guy was not in the truth, right? So shout out to them brothers. You know what I mean, slid on those other brothers and did what it do through the spirit and power of Yahweh shanyam-ishar. So shout out to Jacob's Lantern, shout out to the refiner, shout out to my brothers over at Genesis, right? Shout out to the brothers in Messiah, shout out to the brothers, I think it's the brothers out in Chicago. I believe their camp name is something of Jeshurun. Zealots of Jeshurun, I believe. The brother's name's Block if I'm incorrect. Shout out to them brothers. Shout out to the brothers of Gibarim, right? All the brothers who, of course, left that polluted house and, of course, are building bigger and better things through the spirit and power of Yahawashi and Yahawashi. So this will be live tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shout out to the elder, Thick Oil, Shalawam elder, right? And yeah, man, yeah, Zealots of Jezreel, right? Shout out to the brother Quadazop Ariya who was with them brothers. Yeah, I mean, solid brothers. But yeah, man, I'll be live tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're going review this debate. All praise to the Most High. All right. So let me go ahead and move this. Stop screen. And let me make sure I got this up properly. All right, bang. Here we go. All right. So, Priest, you can get Genesis 1. We're gonna start in just a second. Oh, shout out to the brothers KOY Israelites. What he said. I was doing a breakdown about Genesis 1 going into the hierarchy being established, of light being wisdom, being introduced into the world of chaos at the time a few months ago. I'm curious if this lesson, I think it cut off. So hold your horses, right? No spoiler alerts. We're about to dive into it in just a bit, right? Very, very, very interesting take on that, right? So let's dive into this. All right. So this is the official House of Bread Genesis 1 breakdown, right? So I've been working on this past few days through the spirit and power of Yahawashi, and here we are to present it to the nation. All right. Again, make sure you guys like and share the video. Okay. Super chat if it's on your heart. So creation week, right? Creation week. The problem with a lot of Hebrew Israelites is that they, a lot of times, have a very Christian forward mindset, meaning their mind is still stuck on stupid, which is Christianity, right? Genesis 1, right? And this actually comes up quite often, especially when we're having the conversation about whether the Sabbath is determined by the lunar phases or whether the Sabbath is Friday to Saturday. It is currently the Sabbath, right? It is currently the last Sabbath of this. We're in the 8th month, getting ready to go into the 9th month, if I'm correct, right, priest?
Okay.
All praise to the Most High, right? So a lot of times, brothers who are of the Friday to Saturday mindset, what they'll do is they'll go to they'll make the silly point and say, well, the moon was created on the 4th day, so how can the moon determine the Sabbath? As if creation week is a literal week, right? A literal 7 days. It's not. 1 day equals 1,000 years, right? So Yerumia, if you can get Psalms 90 and 4, Baba Kushah, we can just read it off the screen.
So you said Psalms 90?
90 and 4.
And this is the book of Psalms, chapter 90 and verse 4 in the KJV. For 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday, when it is past, as a watch in the night.
So 1,000 years is as yesterday. Last time I checked, yesterday is a day. But to the Most High God, 1,000 years is as yesterday. Because the Most High God's time and our time are two different timelines, right? Two different units of measure, right? So a day to the Most High, or in the spiritual realm, is 1,000 years in our realm, right? Let's get 2 Peter 3 and 8.
And this is the book of 2 Peter, chapter 3 and verse 8 in the KJV. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years.
Is that a what?
Is as 1,000 years,
It's as 1,000 years. Read on.
and 1,000 years as one day.
So again, we see one day equals 1,000 years. Okay, very, very simple. We have to make this very, very clear, right? Because again, Hebrew Israelites love to just say silly stuff. Yes, the sister Nazar is correct. We are in the 9th month going into the 10th month. We got Hanukkah starts this Thursday evening. All praise to the Most High, right? So KOY Israelites, I put my email is pinned up here. So hit me up. All praise to the Most High, right? So now let's go to the book of Hosea, chapter 6, and then priest, if you can hold on deck, 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter. And what I'll do is I will leave this presentation, the PDF for this, in the description once the video is over. All right. Sister Yapab Bayaf Arya, the little king's doing well, right? He just had bath time. He's with his mama right now eating, so all is well. All praise to the Most High. He turns 2. My son turns 2 months tomorrow. All praise to the Most High. He's growing beautifully through the Spirit. All right. So bring it out. Hosea 6 from the top.
And this is the book of Hosea, chapter 6 and verse 1 in the KJV. And let us return unto the Lord, for he hath torn, and he will heal us.
So the Most High God has torn us, the children of Israel, right? We've been torn, but he will also heal us. And we're still currently torn, right? Read on.
He has smitten, and he will bind us up. Verse 2, after 2 days will he revive us, and the 3rd day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight.
So we have to unpack this, right? We have been torn for thousands of years, but here we see in the scriptures, it says after 2 days he will revive us. Again, have we been revived? No. Has it been more than 2 literal days? Absolutely. Because a day is not a literal day in every sense, especially in the Bible, right? When we see prophetically, days represent, different spans of time, right? Usually 1,000 years, right? So this was prophesied by Hosea, right? Primarily to the northern kingdom of Israel, right? This is hundreds of years before Hamashiach Yahawashi comes on the scene, right? Years. And here we are 2,000 plus years from when this was first prophesied. It says, after 2 days, he will revive us. And in the 3rd day, he will raise us up and we will live in his sight. When will we live in the Most High God's sight? We'll live in his sight when we will return back to the land of Israel, right? When the children of Israel are gathered from the 4 corners of the earth from which we've been scattered, right? So again, we can see clearly that a day is not a literal day. A day equals 1,000 years. It's been over 2,000 years since Yahawashi, right, who is the mechanism by which we are brought back unto the Most High God. He's the one who gave us life, right? It says after 2 days he will revive us, right? So it's been over 2,000 years or 2 days since he has revived us. And if you look at it, right, we're technically in the 3rd day, right? We are hoping, right? We are hoping and waiting patiently for his salvation, for him to shine his face upon us, the Most High God, right? And to establish his son's kingdom on this earth, right? And we're patiently waiting for that, right? Let's get 2nd Ezra 16 and 11.
You talking about the 12 parts?
God.
That's 14. This book is 2nd Ezra chapter 14 and verse 11.
14, Salakia.
For the earth is divided in 12 parts.
And how many parts?
12 parts.
In 12 parts.
And 9 of them and a half of the 10th part are all past.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 12. But the time after, Salakia, but the time after half of the 10th part remaineth yet.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 13. Therefore set thy house in order, and reprove thy people, and comfort them that are bowed down, and renounce corruption.
And that's what we're doing, right? We're setting our own houses in order, right? We're telling our people to renounce disorder, to renounce evil, right? To put away the evil of their doings, right? That's what we're doing today, right? This right here on the screen, and I'll correct this before I post it, right? Again, Second Ezra is the 14th chapter, not 16, right? This is in the GNT. It says the whole history of the world is divided into 12 periods or 12 parts, and the 10th period has already arrived and is half over. Only 2.5 parts remain. So we take 12 minus 2.5, we have 9.5. So at the time in which Ezra prophesied this, right, 9.5 periods had already happened, right? Mm-hmm. So over 9,000 years of history in this realm that we call Earth or the world had already passed, right? Mm-hmm. Some of which humans were not in existence, right? And we're going to dive into what's going on in Genesis, the first chapter, to break down what's going on. Because when you read Genesis 1 and you're a Christian, you have no clue what's going on. When you read Genesis 1 and you are fresh into the truth, you have no clue what's going on, right? Psalms 111 verse 10 says that a good understanding have all they that do commandments, right? So when we come into the knowledge of self and we start keeping the commandments, we're now equipping ourselves to be able to understand these deeper, darker mysteries and principles in the scriptures, right? So again, we see 1,000 years is one day, right? Now, creation week. The word week literally means 7. That's literally what the word means. It means 7. Actually, if one of y'all can get for me the book of Genesis, book of Genesis, go to 29, and let's start at verse 25.
God, I got it.
Just to also show that point that again, a week just means 7. Right? It doesn't necessarily mean 7 literal days. Right? Go ahead.
29 and 25.
Mm-hmm.
God, it's the book of Genesis, chapter 29 and verse 25. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah, and he said unto him, What hast thou done unto me? Were not I served with thee for Rachel? Wherefore hast thou beguiled me?
Mm-hmm.
Verse 26, and Laban said, It must not be done, Salakia, it must not be so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week.
Fulfill her what?
Fulfill her week.
Fulfill her week, right? He served 7 years for Rachel, was beguiled and given Leah, right? And now he said, hey, fulfill her week and I'll give her to you. So Jake is in between a rock and a hard place. He really loved Rachel. Okay. I mean, let me tell you something. Rachel had to be one of the baddest chicks to ever grace this beautiful earth.
14 years. Jeez.
Let me tell you something, right? I would say top 5 in no particular order. You got to have Rachel up there. You got to put Mama Sarah up there, right? You got to put Judith up there.
Susanna.
Who else? Susanna. Like, you had elder men, Levites, priests of God that were willing to risk it all. Bathsheba. They had to be, listen, cold pieces, right? Our forefather Jacob worked 14 years for Rachel, all right? She had the cakes when you dive into the script, all right? But let's continue. It says, fulfill her what?
Fulfill her week. So, yeah. Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years.
7 other what?
7 other years.
Last time I checked, there's 7 days in a week. But here we're seeing, 7 other years. So we can see how even a week is not a literal week in every sense. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing for the book of Genesis, the first chapter. Jump down to verse 30.
God. Verse 30, and he went He went also, Salaki, he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years.
7 other years, right? So, which the Bible calls a week. So again, it's not a literal 7 days in Genesis, the first chapter,
Okay.
right? So now, with the understanding of 2nd Ezra 14, which shows that the world or human history or history in general, the world's history is divided into 12 parts. And when we understand that creation week, right, is not a literal week, and these days are not literal days, they represent 1,000 years, right? So part one or day one, right, would be, again, what we see as day one in Genesis, right? We have day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7. Of course, creation ceases, right? And then we continue to roll into history, right? By the time we're in the 10th part, right, 9.5 parts have already passed, right? By the time in which Ezra is prophesying this, and there's 2.5 parts remaining, right? Also, when we read 2nd Ezra, right, it lets us know that Yahawashi will come within 400 years, right? And Ezra was around 450 BC.
Okay.
So 400 years added to that, right? We get the time of Christ, right? And since then, it's been 2,000 years. So over 2,000 years. So we are very, very close to what we see here as the new eon, the new age, right? The age of Yahawashi's perpetual reign. Okay. Now let's dive into what this means, the worlds. Okay. Let's Priest, if you can get Hebrews 1, Romeo, if you can get Isaiah 45.
That's the book of Hebrews, chapter 1.
To the top.
So, chapter 1 and verse 1. God, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in times past unto the fathers by the prophets, have in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he have appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds.
Made the what?
Made the worlds.
The worlds. That Greek word for worlds in Hebrews 1 and verse 2 is the Greek word eon, right? Or we get the word eon, which means an age, right? It's inflected as eonas, right? Eonas. And the equivalent to that in the Hebrew is the word iwalum, right? So iwalum, right, means an age or perpetuity, or the phrase is used as forever in many instances, right? And of course, if you guys have been paying attention and tapping into the Hebrew classes, right, clearly this is a feminine word, right? Iwalam waf. That waf makes it plural. So we're talking about the worlds. Yerumi, you can get Isaiah 45 and 15.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 45 and verse 17. But
15,
Israel shall
verse 15.
Salaki, verse 15. Verily, verily, thou art a God that hidest thou self, O God of Israel, the Savior. They shall be ashamed and also confounded. All of them, they shall go to confusion together that are makers of idols.
So when we read further up, I believe Isaiah is talking about the Ethiopians and some other Hamites, right? How they're makers of idols, and how these other nations who are idol worshippers, they're going to be confounded. Okay, but Israel shall be what?
But Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end.
World without end. That word for world in the Hebrew is iwalom, right? When it's translated into the Greek Septuagint, the word eon is used, or eonas, or one of its inflections, right? Sister Yapabayah, Ariyah, thawadath, Barakath, Yahawashi, shanyam-ishar, the water sister, right? The brother choirs of Ariyah makes a great point, right? He goes to Daniel, the this ninth chapter, right? It's in verse 27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. Was it literally 1 week? No. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations. Of course, this is the first Roman Jewish war, which lasted from 66 to 73 AD, 7 years. In the midst of that week, right, which is 7 years, we have, of course, the sacking of Jerusalem and the burning of our temple, right, the taking away of our vessels by Titus Vespasian and his army, right? Great point. Through the spirit and power of Yahawah shanyam-ishar, right? Now, right? So why do I have these scriptures clumped together, right? So Hebrews 1 establishes that the Most High God, right? He used Yahawashi. It says, by his son, he appointed him to be heir of all things, and by whom or with him he created the worlds, right? The eons, the ages, right? Isaiah 45 says that Israel is an age or a world or a rulership without end. Why? Because elsewhere in biblical prophecy, as we see here in Daniel the 7th chapter, verse 13, it says, I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days. And they brought him near before him, and there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom which shall not be destroyed. Right? Jumping down to verse 18. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever and ever. Right? So now again, as you can see, just so you don't just take my word for it, right? Here we have the Textus Receptus of Hebrews 1 and 2, right? And we see the word eonas, right? Eon. What is it? It says in age, by extension, perpetuity, also past, by implication, the world, especially Jewish or Messianic period, present or future, age, course, eternal, forevermore and ever, beginning of the while the world began without end, compared to G5550, right? So again, it's an age, right? This is what this word means, okay? Right, here we are in Isaiah 45 and 17, right? We see the word Iwalam, right? Iwalam, right? In the Hebrew, of course, it has the yod because it's belonging to who? It's belonging to Israel, right? But the Greek Septuagint, we see the word Ionas. Again, the same thing. Israel, when it's the world where Israel rules and Israel has dominion, right? It will be forever. It will be without end. Okay. And then here we are. All right. Here's the Strong's Salakia number for the Hebrew, Iwalam, right? Or Ilam, right? And it means, it says the vanishing point, generally the time out of mind, past or future, i.e., practically eternity, frequentatively, right? Let's go down. It says ancient time, any more continuance, eternal, everlasting, evermore, of old, lasting long, old time, perpetual, at any time, beginning, again, world. So it's an age, a time. This whole word, its concept is temporal, meaning relating to time. Okay. So now Daniel 7, right? When we go to verse 14, again, we see the word Ilam, right? As we go back, right? See how it says Ilam as well, right? You see the word Ilam is used, and of course, in the Greek translation, we see the word Ionios, right? Which is an inflection of the word eon, right? Which means age. It's the same words being utilized, right? So again, the Most High God, right, used Yahawashi to create the world, plural, right? Israel is a world without end and will rule without end because they will rule jointly with Christ in the kingdom where all people, nations, and tongues will serve us. Bring us back. Let's go real quick back to our chart here, right? Here's the 12 parts, and then we got that new world that's getting ready to come, right? Actually, priest, if you can get 2nd Ezra chapter, what's that, 6 and verse 7.
It's the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, And verse 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or
Of the what?
of the times,
Of the times. Right, read on.
or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth?
Uh-huh.
He said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau.
Come
For,
on.
for Esau is the end of the world,
Esau is the end of the what?
the world,
End of the world. Read on.
and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth.
So we live in a world, in an age where the white man, Esau, rules the world, right? Our dominion, our kingdom, where the whole earth will be at rest, right? Proverbs 29:2 says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. We live in a day and age, an evil age, right? An evil world where everyone's in mourning. Everyone. Why? Because the Edomites are in control. They're the end of the world. And we are the beginning of the world that's going to come, right? Which again is Yahawashi's rulership, his perpetual dominion, right? Put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. If you guys are picking up what I'm putting down, right, through the spirit and power of Yahawah shanyam-ishar. If this is not making sense to you, put a 2 and ask a question, right? And we'll get to it later.
Bro, I got one more on the world, that wisdom of Solomon we was talking about on Thursday.
Well, I don't think that word would have been eon necessarily in that particular instance, so we can hold off on that one. All praise to the Most High, right? So, priest, if you can get Genesis 1, and then you run me, I'll have you get the precepts as you dive into it. All right, bring it out.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Ba ra'ashya, in the headings, right? Ba means in, ra'ash means head, right? Yath, of course, makes it plural. In the beginnings, or in the headings, it says God created the heavens and the earth, right? So what we're looking at in Genesis 1 and 1 is we're looking at the chief creation of Ha'alahayim, or the Elohim, right? The powers, okay? So, Yeremia, we're going to get John 1, Revelations 3, and Colossians 1. Let's get John 1 and 1 first. You're on mute.
Okay. This is the book of John, chapter 1 and verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Uh-huh.
Verse 2, the same was in the beginning with God.
Uh-huh.
Verse 3, all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made.
Okay, so let's break this down, right? So we're just going to break down Genesis 1 in terms of in the Greek, right? So Genesis 1 in the Greek reads, en arche en o logos kai o logos en prostaun theon kai theos en o logos, right? En arche means in the beginning. So the equivalent would be ba ra'ashiath, right? En o logos, the word, was the word. En was o the logos word. Kai and ho logos, the word. En pros down theon was with theon. Who is theon, right? And this is kai theos and o logos. And the word was God, or God was the word, right? So the logos here, all right, is the word for word, right? It means word, right? The subject of the sentence, it's in the nominative case, right? Now these cases have to match up, right? Now we see two different words for God that's translated as God. We see it inflected as theon, and we see it inflected as theos or theos. So theon is the most high God. It is the object of the sentence, or it's in the accusative case, right? Then we have theos, which is the word, which we know is Christ. It's in the nominative case, again, denoting that it's the subject. Now, if Yahawashi is the subject, he's the word, and then we have the theon that he's with is the object, that means that he has a God. He has a God. So this kills the silly so-called Christian understanding of John 1 Another Trinity. Oh, see, Jesus Christ was God. He's with God. You niggas don't know Greek and don't understand the syntax. And then it goes on to say that the same was in the beginning with God, right? Christ was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. The Most High God used Yahawashi to create everything else after him, right? Let's get Revelation 3 and 14, and then we're going to go to Colossians 1.
And this is the book of Revelation, chapter 3 and verse 14. And unto the angel of the church of
The Laodiceans.
Laodiceus write these things, saith the Amen, the faithful and the true witness, the beginning of the creation of God.
So Yahawashi, out of his own mouth, these are red letters, says that he is the beginning of the creation of God, right? A so-called Christian will want to play a game and say he's the beginner of the creation of God. No, he's the beginning of the creation of God. He is a created thing, okay? So we have the Most High God. He created Yahawashi, who is what? The Word. When we're looking at Genesis 1, right, we see God speaking, right? We see the Elohim, the Ha'alahayim, we see them speaking, right? Things into existence. And that's how they're creating the physical world, as we're going to demonstrate, right? Let's get Colossians 1 and 15. And actually, also, please give for me, what's that? Ephesians 5, because we wrestle not with flesh and blood.
28.
Can I get Colossians 1 and 15?
It's the book of Colossians, chapter 1 and verse 15. Who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature.
So the Bible, here we have the Apostle Paul saying that Yahawashi is the image of the invisible God, right? Last time I checked, if I take a picture of something, the thing that I took the picture of, right, existed before the picture, right? So Yahawashi is the copy or the picture of the Most High God. He's the image. The icon is the word we see in the Greek language, right? It says that he's the firstborn, Perpetual, right? A Christian can play a game and say, oh, well, Perpetual means preeminence, because they'll say, is Israel really the firstborn? Or is Ephraim really the firstborn? But when you break down the word, protos means first. Taquito, right, means to be created, right? So it literally means first created. That's what the word means when you break it down. You don't try to put any extra fluff on it. But what's even more important is when we look at the word for creature, right? We have the word katesis. It literally means a thing that is created. So Colossians 1 and 15 is stating that Christ, the image of the Father, was created. He's the firstborn of every creation. And he himself says that he's the beginning of the creation of God, right? Verse 16, bring it out.
Colossians 1 and 16. For by him were all things created that are in heaven.
Let's slow down, right? For by him or with him were all things created that are in heaven. What's in heaven? Oh, the angels, the spirits in the spiritual realm. He created them, right? Read on.
And that are in the earth.
Come on.
Visible and invisible.
What are visible? What are some invisible things here on the earth? The wind. You can't see the wind, right? What are some things in the sky or the heavens that we can't see? We can't see the spiritual realm, right? We can't see the spirits, right? So Christ created them, right? Read on.
Whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers.
Or what?
Or powers.
Or powers. So Christ created the other powers. Christ created Satan. Christ created the demons and the other angels, right? Who are all called the sons of God in other places in the scripture, right? Read on.
All things were created by him and for him.
All things were created by him and for him, right? So when we look at this phraseology, right, he created things that are whether they be thrones, dominions, principalities, or powers, right? Let's get that Colossians 6 and 12.
This is the book of Colossians, chapter 6 and verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood,
Uh-huh.
but against principalities.
Against what?
Against principalities.
Yeah, the word principalities here, right? Yeah. Right. Principalities, read on.
Against powers.
Against what?
Against powers.
Powers. There are powers that are in the spiritual realm, right, that we wrestle against. Read on.
Against the rulers of the darkness of this world.
Last time I checked, rulers have these things called thrones and dominions, right? Read on.
Against spiritual wickedness in high
wickedness and where?
In high places.
In high places. What's higher than the earth? The heavens, right? Right. We can dive off into a concept known as the divine council. I know Deacon has done a couple of videos on the divine council on his channel, right? So Yahawashi created that, right? The Most High God used him to create the angels, right? And what we're looking at in Genesis, the first chapter, again, are the powers, the Elohim, right? Ha'alahayim in the ancient Hebrew, right? Carving the physical world that we live in, right? So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, right? Bada'a shaf, bada'a alahayim af, shemayim wa af ha'arataza, right? The word bada'a, right? It literally means to cut or carve. Now, what are the basic fundamental building blocks, all right, of the physical world that we live in, right? Everything in the physical world is made up of what's known as matter, and matter has different principles and particles, right? So everything is made up of molecules. Molecules are made up of atoms. Atoms are made up of protons, electrons, neutrons. Within those subatomic parts, you have even smaller subatomic particles, right? So William Graves is being a silly individual and talking crap about he said wrong flat earth. William, go sit down and read a book, right? And stop regurgitating the nonsense that you've learned from your oppressors, right? So as we dive further into the book of Genesis, the first chapter, there's no way that you can be a Bible believer and believe that we live on a freaking ball that's spinning 1,000 miles per hour that you cannot fucking feel. Crazy. There's no way. And we're gonna prove it, right? So anyway, someone put William in timeout, right? So Genesis 2.
God, in this book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 2, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep.
The face of the what?
The face of the deep.
So what we're looking at is the chief creation of the Elohim, right? And their canvas is darkness in the deep, or water. This pre-existing water that's already there. That is their canvas, right? Read on.
It was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters.
Right. So last time I checked, right, spirits are energy, are forms of energy, right? We live in the physical world, and one of the principles of physics is that matter can neither be created nor destroyed. It's only transformed into energy and vice versa. Energy cannot be created or destroyed either. So, like for instance, we have something called potential energy, right? This bottle on my desk, right? It has potential energy, right? If it falls off, now it has kinetic energy, right? And guess what? That right there all comes from what? The mass that comes from that object, right? So we have the angels, right? The Yahawashi and the angels, the Elohim, right? The Alahayim. Their energy is moving upon the face of the waters. Very important to understand, right? Verse 3.
Verse 3. And God said, let there be light, and there was light.
And God said, let there be light, and there was light, right? Said, when you say something, you're speaking, right? Again, we have the Most High God. He is existence. His name is Yahawah. He just exists. He creates his son, right? His word. He speaks him, right? He exists, right? He's now in the beginning with the Father. The Father is known as the Ancient of Days, right? He's removed from the concept of time. He's removed from days. That's what the phrase Ancient of Days means in Daniel, the 7th chapter. Ithayach Yawam, right? Ithayach means removed. Yawam means days, right? Yahawashi, he's created. So now he is confound to the concept of time, right? He's the firstborn of every creature, as we demonstrated, right? And of course, he creates the other powers, other spirits, and they're doing this carving of the world in which we live in, right? And it says, God said, let there be light, and there was light, right? Read on.
God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day.
Right. And again, this creation week is the pattern for the sabbatical cycle, right? Or just days in general, right? It says evening, then morning, evening, then morning. So no, a day does not begin in the morning for all you silly brothers and sisters, right? It's everything that we live in, right? This world that we live in started in darkness. So it's darkness, then light, darkness, then light. That is the very easy, recognizable pattern, right? So the brother KOI Israelites, I believe that's the brother Khalil, I believe is his name. I forget. But he had mentioned something about this light that's being introduced here. And I've heard other brothers, right, say that light is Yahawashi. Yahawashi is not this light in Genesis 1:3-5. He is not. He's creating this light with the other angels. So how can he be this light? Does not make sense, does not add up, right? Let's figure out what this light is. Well, what is this light? Again, when we went into the word bara'ah, right, it means to carve, right? So the angel, Yahawashi and the angels, the Elohim, they're physically carving the basic building blocks of this physical world, right? They're literally building the things that create matter, right? They're creating matter. They're carving it, right? And again, they already have a canvas. They have water, pre-existing water. So now they're carving things out of this pre-existing water, right? So they're creating the atoms and their subatomic parts and particles, right? So what is this light? Now, in science, we have something called spontaneous emission, and we have something called Cherenkov radiation, right? So what is spontaneous emission, right? It's the process by which an atom in an excited state releases a photon and returns to a lower energy state without any external stimulus. Now, obviously, the so-called external stimulus were the angels, were energy, the powers who are spirits. They are energy, they're power, right? They already have energy because they're spirits, and their spirit is moving over across the face of the deep, this pre-existing water, right? So when an atom is in an excited state, it releases a photon, and a photon is a particle of light, right? The word photon goes back to the Greek word photos, where we get the word light, hence the term photosynthesis, right? A photon is a massless particle that can only move at one speed, the speed of light measured in a vacuum. Here we have it. Very, very simple. Yahawashi is not the light. Yahawashi and the angels created the light by moving upon the face of the deep, right? Their spirit moving upon the face of the deep, and them carving the physical building blocks of our world, right? Of the matter that makes up our world, right? Now, then we have something called Cherenkov radiation, right? It is blue light emitted when a charged particle, right, such as an electron. Every atom is made up of electrons, right? Has protons and neutrons in its nucleus, right? You have the electrons that are orbiting the nucleus of the atom, right? So it says, such as an electron travels through a medium like water. What's their canvas? Water. Their spirit is moving upon the face of the deep, right? It says faster than the speed of light in that medium. This light boom is analogous to a sonic boom and is caused by the charged particle disrupting atoms in the medium, which then release photons, light particles, right? What are these atoms inside of this substrate or this medium? Water. What is water made up of? H2O, 1 hydrogen and 2 oxygen molecules, right? So the Yahawashi and the angels are literally doing freaking fission and fusion and big concepts, right? Like we live in a nuclear world where countries spend billions, not trillions of dollars colliding atoms in a reactor to create nuclear energy, right? To create these huge explosions, right? Esau describes it as the Big Bang Theory, right? The Bible describes it as Yahawashi and the angels, which are spirits, which are energy, literally interacting with pre-existing water, right? And doing fission and fusion and all types of scientific methods to create this physical world. It's very, very simple, right? You see, Esau just doesn't have the knowledge, right, from the Most High God, because the Most High God showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes, his judgments unto Israel, right? And here we are breaking it down through the spirit and power of Yahawashi and Yahawashi, right? When I saw this, because again, this has been the understanding for quite some time, right? But when I literally looked up and found these concepts, right, these so-called scientific concepts, right, it's fascinating, right? It makes you love the Bible so much more, right? So again, subatomic particles, they emit light through either spontaneous emission or Cherenkov radiation. Spontaneous emission occurs again when an electron and an atom moves to a lower energy state, releasing a photon of light, right? Cherenkov radiation is a bluish glow produced when a charged particle travels faster than light through a medium like water, creating a shock wave of light, right? Spontaneous emission. This process is fundamental to how atoms produce light. Again, atoms produce light. And that's what Yahawashi and the angels were creating. That's what they were carving. That's what they bara'ah, right? It says an electron in an atom absorbs energy and moves to a higher excited energy level. It is unstable in this high energy state and quickly falls back to a lower energy level, right? As it returns to a lower state, it releases the extra energy as a photon, which is a particle of light, right? Within Cherenkov radiation, this radiation occurs when a charged particle, again, an electron or a proton, moves faster than the speed of light in a particular medium, again, especially water. It says light travels at its maximum speed in a vacuum, but slows down when it passes through a medium like water, right? So you can call it the so-called vacuum of space, as Esau tries to describe it as. Okay, so if a particle is traveling faster than the slower speed of light in the medium, it creates a shock wave of light similar to a sonic boom, right? So again, this is what it means when it says God said, "Let there be light." Very, very easy to understand. All right, so I said let's get this guy. Let's get this guy out of here. William Graves, you're out of here, buddy. So now let's go to Genesis 1 and 6, right? So that's day 1. Now we're on what's happening in day 2. Right out.
Verse 6. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters."
So again, you got this pre-existing water, right? And then the powers, Yahawashi, the angels, God said, "Let there be a firmament in between the waters to separate the waters from above and below," right? So now we have the word for firmament, right? It's the Hebrew word rakoyai, right? From Strong's H7554, properly an expanse, i.e., the firmament or apparently visible arc of the sky. Firmament, right? When we look at the Jacinius Chaldee lexicon for this word, right, it says the firmament of heaven spread out like a hemisphere above the earth. What does the word hemi mean? The word hemi means half. What is a hemisphere? It's half of a sphere. And that right there separates the water above from the waters below, right? There's all this water Now there's this hemisphere that appears, and it's separating water from water. Now, there's been a couple of videos, right? And it's crazy to see how fascinated grown people are at these videos, right? So if you take, let's say, a bucket, right, or a bowl, or some type of vessel, right, and if you put it on top of water, right, put it on top of your head, and you come underwater, right, there's now air within that bucket or that vessel, right, and you can essentially breathe underwater, right? You're literally breathing air, right? So we see this scene in what's that John called? Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Jack Sparrow, right? He got the boat and he's underwater and he's breathing, walking underneath the water under a boat, because again, now it's trapping that air and now he can breathe, right? So now we have air here, right, within this expanse, right, or this hemisphere known as the firmament, which we see the angels begin in Yahawashi, of course. They call it what? Verse 7.
Verse 7. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters that were above the firmament, and it was so.
Come on.
And God called the firmament heaven.
Uh-huh.
And the evening and the morning were the second day.
Like, call the firmament heaven, Shemayim, right? That's day 2, right? So we had the word Shemayim from you got Strong's H8064, dual of an unused singular Shema, right? From an unused root, meaning to be lofty, the sky as a loft, the dual perhaps alluding to the visible arch in which the clouds move, as well as to the higher ether where the celestial bodies revolve air, right? So again, we have this firmament, right, that's created, and the Elohim call it heaven, Shemayim, right? The word heaven simply means sky, right? Let me break it down. Genesis 1, verses 9 through 11. Bring it out.
Verse 9. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear, and so it was so.
So now we see dry land being created, right? It's being dried up and waters being moved to one place, right? Read on.
Verse 10. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he the seas.
Come on.
And God saw that it was good. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so.
Now, again, a lot of people may ask, well, how can there be plant life and no sun, right? When we look at what the sun is, right, it is basically just a reactor, right? It's just a reactor, and it's, of course, emitting light, right? And plants now absorb said light to grow and of course, thrive and live. There's already water here, mind you. And again, we see light created on day 1, just the light that just emanates from the atoms that are around, right? And again, we still got the Elohim moving and grooving, right? Doing their thing, right? And again, within this realm, they're 1,000-year periods, not literal days. To them, they are days, right? Read on.
Verse 12. And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and a tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day.
Third day, right? Now, verse 14.
Verse 14. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven, to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years.
Let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. Now, let's unpack this a little bit, right? Again, when we have this conversation about how the moon, right, determines the months, it determines the feast days, right? As the Bible says, right? And brothers come with this silly argument, well, the moon was created on the 4th day and blah, 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 blah. Well, so was the sun. And the calendar that you use, that's in use today is a solar calendar. So I can say the same thing about you now, can't I? But again, these are not literal days, right? Not to mention, if these are literal days, there were already days before this day, right? There were already days before, 3 days before this day, right? And it says that these are for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. So how do those other days exist without these? If these are literal days, they're not, right? Because they're just not literal days, right? Read verse 15.
Verse 15, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so.
Come on.
Verse 16, and God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also.
Right. So we got the sun, the moon, and the stars, right? Read on.
And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth and to rule over the day and over the night. And
so let's slow down, right? So again, right, because we had a silly individual in the chatting, right? The flat earth, right? If you believe in the Bible, you cannot believe in a globe, in a solar system of just this space dust and this, because if you believe in that, you believe in the Big Bang and you don't believe in God, right? You believe in the theory of the Big Bang that the white man has presented to the world, right? There's a firmament, which is a hemisphere, a half sphere that separates water from above and water below. All right. And then it says that God, the angels, the Elohim, placed these two lights, right, in the firmament.
Not outside.
Not outside of the firmament, in the firmament. Read on.
God. Verse 18, to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day.
Again, look at this continual pattern of darkness, light, darkness, light. So when we're talking about literal days start at sun, when the sun goes down, right? Verse 20.
Verse 20, and God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that have life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of the heaven.
Come on.
And God created great whales and every living creature that moveth.
Slow down. And every living creature that moveth, right? Now, most people believe that humankind was created on the 6th day. Here we are, we're in the 5th day. Yerome, if you can get 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 47. Hold that on deck, right? So it says that he created great whales and every living creature that moveth, right? Read on.
Every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind.
After their kind, right? After their kind. Every living creature after their individual kind. Read on.
And every winged fowl after his kind.
Come on.
God saw that it was good.
God saw that it was good. Okay. So Genesis again 1:21, right? We see the word for every one of the words in the phrase every living creature, right? Call, napash, chaya, right? Chaya means alive or alive. Napash, as we see here, Strong's H5315. This is a breathing creature, i.e., an animal or abstractly. Vitality used very widely in a literal, accommodated, or figurative sense, right? So you jump down. It says, what? Man, me. Who uses me? People. Mind, mortally, one own person. Her, him, my, thyself, right? This is what this word is used when expressing these type of sentiments, right? Napash, right? It means person. So it says the waters were of every living creature. Napash, chaya, includes human beings, right? When we look at how this word is translated, right, is translated as soul 475 times. All right. Person 29 times. Right. Body 8 times. Himself 8 times. Yourself 6 times. Right. Man 3 times. Right. Because people have napash. Right. Have souls. Have selves. Right. Again, we look at the outline of biblical usage. Again, soul, self, life, creature, person. Person. The man himself, self, person, or individual. Very simple, right? So humankind, human beings were created on the 5th day, right? So now let's get 2nd Ezra chapter 6, right? So in 2nd Ezra, right, Ezra is recounting creation week, right? From verses 38 to 54, right? We see day 5 from verses 47 to 52 and day 6 verses 53 to 54, right? So bring it out. You run me Baba Kushah.
38.
No, sorry, 47.
And this 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 47. Upon the 5th day,
What
thou
day?
upon the 5th day,
The 5th day.
thou sayest unto the 7th part,
Uh-huh.
where the waters were gathered, that it should bring forth living creatures.
So water brought forth living creatures, right? Again, we saw the phrase Napash Chaya, right? Human beings are included in Napash Chaya, right? Read on.
Fowls and fishes, and so it came to pass.
Come on.
Verse 48, for the dumb water and without life brought forth living things at the commandment of God.
Right. The word dumb means unable to speak, right? So the dumb water and without life, it didn't have life, right? And again, water is the foundation of life. All life comes from it, right? When you like for instance, my son is 2 months old, right? You know, when children are born, typically what happens is what? A woman's water breaks. The baby is literally floating in water for 9-10 months, right? Read on.
That all people might praise thy wondrous works.
Come on.
Verse 49, then didst thou ordain 2 living creatures.
Ordain what?
Didst thou ordain 2 living creatures.
2 types or 2 categories of creatures. Read on.
The one thou callest Enoch,
Uh-huh.
and the other Leviathan.
Right. So we have Enoch and Leviathan. Last time I checked, Enoch is the name of a man. Right? Read on.
Verse 50, and didst separate the one from the other for the 7th part, namely, where the waters were gathered together, might not hold them both.
Right. So humanity, right, and aquatic life were separated out of what? The water. Of course, aquatic life remained in the water. Right. Read on.
Verse 51, unto Enoch thou givest 1 part, which was dried up the 3rd day, that he should dwell in the same part wherein are 1,000 hills.
So again, the 3rd day we see dry land appear, right? The waters were gathered to one place and the dry land appear on the 3rd day. And on the 5th day, right, the powers took Enoch, mankind, out of water, placed them on earth, Barakath, right, on land, where are 1,000 hills. Right, read on.
Verse 52, but unto Leviathan thou givest the 7th part, namely the moist, and has kept him and has kept him to be devout to whom thou will and when.
So Leviathan is an aquatic sea creature that has scales, right? And it says that he has kept the guy has kept him to be devoured of whom, right? When it's the time, right? So Leviathan will be devoured, right? This is a literal creature that comes out of the water that have fins and scales, right? And then verse 53.
53, upon the 6th day.
What day?
Upon the 6th day.
On the sixth day. So again, fifth day we see Enoch, which represents mankind being created. On the fifth day, not the sixth day, right? Read on.
Upon the sixth day, thou givest commandment unto the earth that bringeth that before thee it should bring forth beasts,
Beasts.
cattle, and creeping things.
So what we're seeing here, and as we'll go when we dive back into Genesis, right? What we're looking at is the domestication of animals by who? By human beings that were living on earth with other animals, right? Read on.
Verse 54. And after these Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen.
Right. So again, on the sixth day, Adam was made to be the Lord of all of the creatures, right? Which it would include other human beings, right? And when we dive into Genesis 2, this is going to make a lot more sense when we do that breakdown through the spirit and power of Yahawah shanyam-ishar, right? So again, let's go back to Genesis 1:22.
God, it's the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 22. And God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth.
Come on.
And the evening and the morning were the fifth day.
With the what?
Were the fifth day.
Fifth day, right? Read on.
Verse 24. And God said, Let the earth bring forth a living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beast of the earth after his kind. And it was so.
Again, the domestication of animals, right? Cattle, right? I think the word in Hebrew was bahama, right? When it talks about how Abraham was rich in cattle, right? He wasn't rich in lions and tigers and bears. He was rich in cows and sheep and goats, all right? Read on.
Verse 25. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good.
Come on.
And God said, Let us make man in our image.
So now, right, again, human beings are already on the scene. Now they're saying, let us make man in our image. In our image. Not my image, in our image. Read on.
In our image, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
And when we look at this word for man, it's the word Adam, right? Again, where we get the word Adam. So Adam, right, is made in the image of God, right? Adam and his lineage of people, right? Read on.
Verse 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them.
Come on.
And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it.
And subdue it, right? So, hey, chosen people, right? We see a chosen people, Adam, right? Adam was one man of probably millions of people, right? That were already created on the fifth day. Adam had a mama and a daddy, right? Eve had a mama and a daddy, right? People had their different clans and whatnot, this, that, and the third, right? But Adam was exalted, right? And made after the image and likeness of God. And that gave him the wisdom to have dominion, right? Read on.
God. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the earth, the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth.
Come on. So now let's go back to 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 53 again, Yeromia.
This 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 55. Verse 55.
53.
So like verse 53. Upon the sixth day thou givest commandment upon the earth, that before thee it should bring forth beasts, cattle, and creepy things. Verse 54. And after these Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures. Of him come we all,
Of him come we all. Read on.
and the people also whom thou hast chosen.
Right. So
Verse,
of course we know that there was a flood, right? And every human being on the earth was wiped out, right? All life was wiped out except for what? Noah, his wife, his sons Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and their 3 wives, right? And of course, twos of every animal and 7 pairs of twos of all the clean animals, right? That's what we saw that was preserved in that flood. Right now, every culture on the planet has a flood story or a so-called flood myth, right? And the word myth doesn't even mean made up, for the record, when you dive into the etymology. So everyone has a recount or retelling of a global flood destroying the world, right? Destroying an evil age, right? We're talking about, Yahawashi talks about how it was in the days of Noah, right? They were given in marriage and eating and drinking, having a good old time, and it was just wickedness was in the earth, right? So shall it be in the end times, when a new age, right? Again, it says that Yahawashi made the world, he made the eonas, right? The LionOfYahawah, right? The ages, the eons, okay? Stay there. Second Ezra, go to chapter 8, verse 29, Nehemiah, and priest, go to Second Ezra chapter 3, right? So again, Adam was chosen amongst men to rule, right? Before we get Second Ezra 3 from you, priests, let's read Genesis 1:26.
Come on, it's the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 26. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
Slow down real quick. So I can't even pronounce your first name, brother Jezreel. Adam's father is not the most high, and like he has a literal physical father.
God.
He would have had a literal physical father. Same thing for Eve, right?
It would have been like the situation with Joseph and Mary, basically.
Yeah.
The first Adam and the last Adam.
Yeah. Yahawashi is the first Adam and he's the last Adam. And actually, I dive into that concept in the video that I did on eternal life, right? If you have not watched the video on eternal life, listen, you missed a masterpiece to the spirit of Yahawashi. Right? People have asked me to do another style lesson like that. It just takes way too much time. So I'm kind of finding it in between and doing these presentations like this, right? And so that we can have the information precise and concise, right? Read on.
Verse 27. So God created man in his own image.
In his own image, read on.
In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them.
Uh-huh.
And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth.
God. Right? So again, what is the image of God? Right? Actually, run me a hole. What you got? Get me Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 24, Bible Shah.
this is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, and verse 14.
24.
Salaki, verse 24. For wisdom is more moving than any motion.
Wisdom is more moving than any motion. Read on.
She passive and goeth through all things by reason of her pureness.
So wisdom, right? Wisdom is what gives you motion, right? A lot of niggas be talking, oh, I got motion. None of these niggas got motion because none of them got wisdom. None of them keep God's law, statutes, commandments, right? Read on.
Verse 25, for she is the breath of the power of God.
She's the breath of life, the breath of the power of God. Read on.
and a pure influence will flowering from the glory of the Almighty. Therefore can none no defiled thing fall unto her.
Right? Because wisdom is pure, it's not defiled. Right? Read on.
26. For she is the brightness of the everlasting light.
She is the brightness of the everlasting light. Read on.
The spotted mirror of the power of God, and the image of his goodness.
So the image, so wisdom is the image of his goodness, right? Well, what is wisdom, right? When we read Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 5, it says that the law, statutes, commandments, right? The Torah, God's rule of life, right? Rules of how we're supposed to live our lives. That is our wisdom and understanding in the sight of the nations, right? So what happened was Adam was given the breath of life and was made after the image of God because he was given God's wisdom, which is the Torah, right? Let's Second Ezra 3. Who got that?
What verse?
Start verse 4.
This is the book of 2 Ezra chapter 3 and verse 4. O Lord, who bears rule, thou spakest at the beginning.
At the what?
At the beginning.
At the beginning. Barakath. Read on.
When thou didst plant the earth, and that thyself alone, and commanded thy people, and gavest a body unto Adam without
so there's people, right? And then it says thou gavest a body unto Adam without what?
Without soul.
Without soul, right? Without true life, without that oomph, that good stuff, right? Read on. Remember, I don't think Priest will remember. Remember Space Jam, right? The juice. They would pass around the juice, that stuff, right?
Yeah,
Adam was given that juice.
That turned into
turned into a monstar, right? So to have dominion over what? Over other human beings and over the fish and the fowl and everything on the earth, right? That's what Adam was given. He was given a body without soul, right? Read on.
Which was the workmanship of thy hands, and didst breathe into him the breath of life.
The breath of life, read on.
And he was made living before thee.
And he was made living before thee, right? The law of God, which is the breath of life, which is his wisdom, right? It's his law, right? Proverbs 6:23 says, for the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs and instructions are the way of life, right? Elsewhere we see it says that they that turn from the law, right, roughly paraphrasing, that shall remain in the congregation of the dead. So you can be a dead man walking, you can be a dead woman walking. And all of our people who are not keeping God's law, such as commandments, they are dead men and women walking, right? Again, it says that that this wisdom, right, is what? The breath of the power of God, a pure influence, right? And it says is the brightness of the everlasting light and the unspotted mirror of the power of God, right? What do you see in your mirror? Your reflection. That's what we see. We see you see your reflection when you look in the mirror. Wisdom is the unspotted mirror of the power of God, right? When you have wisdom, right? Listen, the scripture say even it says that wisdom maketh a man's face to shine. This is why when Moses came down off the mountain, right, he had to put a veil over his face because he was just illuminated with this glow, with the unspotted mirror of the power of God, right? Read on, verse 6, 2 Ezra 3.
Verse 6, and thou leddest him into paradise, which...
Right, into paradise, Eden, read on.
Which thy right hand had planted before ever the earth came forward. And said unto him, and Salakia, and unto him thou gavest command to love thy way.
He gave what?
Thou gavest command to him to love thy way.
He gave commandment to love thy way. What is God's way? His laws, his statutes, commandments. What is the love of God? The keeping of his laws, his statutes, his commandments. It's all connected, right? Read on.
Which he transgressed, and immediately thou appointest death in him and his generations. of whom came nations, tribes, people, and kindreds out of number.
Come on, right? So now, actually, we're going to get to Genesis 1 and 29 in a second, but you run me, bring out for me, Second Ezra 8 and 29, right? Because I want to also make another point. So again, when we're looking at day 6, we see beasts, right? We were told Adam was told to subdue the beasts of the field, right? And this is talking about not just
Cattle.
literal beasts; it's talking about other people. Bring that out. Second Ezra 8 and 29.
And it's the book of Second Ezra, chapter 8 and verse 29. It is not be thy will to destroy them which have lived like beasts,
Live like what?
which have lived like beasts,
Read on.
which have lived like beasts, but to look upon them that have clearly taught thy law.
So Ezra's talking about how our people, when they don't keep the law, statutes, commandments, they live like beasts. When we are not following the law, statutes, commandments, right? Following the Most High God, who are we following? We are following the heathen. They are the beasts. So when Adam was made in the image of the Most High God, right? Made in the image of God and given the breath of life, right? Was given those laws, statutes, commandments. It gave him the ability, right, and the wisdom to be able to rule and subdue beasts, to subdue all men, right, and have dominion. And that's how we were supposed to live, right? But Adam fell, right? We'll get into that in the Genesis 2 breakdown, but that's what's going on, right? Let's read out Genesis 1 and 29. Actually, there's a precept that's escaping me. Oh man, it's in the Apocrypha. Lord willing, it'll come back, right? But again, when we don't keep the law, statutes, commandments, we're living like beasts or living like the heathen, right? All right, bring it out. Genesis 1:29.
This book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 29. And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat.
And to you shall be for meat. So Adam, right, the Adamites, right, which is essentially the prototype or the prototypic nation of Israel, right? They were giving a vegetarian diet, right? And this is why you got niggas like the Essenes who say, "Oh, you gotta be vegan." Well, that was then, right? When we go down the line and we get into the Mosaic covenant, right? We are literally instructed to eat meat, right? Not just plant life, right? Read on.
Verse 30. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the earth, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, where there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And God saw everything that he made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day.
So those are the 6 days of creation. Very, very simple to understand, right? When you actually do the things, right, which are paramount to understanding, which is the keeping of the laws, statutes, and commandments, right? What we'll do really quickly before we wrap up, right? We'll take some questions.
Yeah, and I was just thinking it too while we was doing it. Like, it's weird when you think they're literal days, because he's telling like life to multiply, and then when it comes to the next day, they're actually like in the fifth day, he's telling them to multiply, and then he's choosing them on the sixth day. If it was one literal day, it doesn't make sense for it to be like, oh yeah, multiply, and then how fast can they multiply in 24 hours?
Yeah, bro. See, this is why you gotta have the priests around, man. That right there is a profound point. So all you brothers who use that silly ass talking point when we're talking about the Sabbath, and it's just a quinky thing that it's currently the Sabbath, right? When we have this conversation, y'all go to, how can the moon determine the Sabbath? When the moon was created on the 4th day. You sound stupid, right? And what you demonstrate is how much you fundamentally lack understanding of the scriptures, right? Yahawashi said to the Pharisees and the Sadducees all the time, "You err not knowing the scriptures." Right? Y'all keeping a Friday to Saturday Sabbath, not knowing the scriptures, but that's a whole different topic. The brother Quadazop Ariah put a great precept in the chat. Psalms 29:20. Man that is in honor and understandeth not is like the beasts that perish. Woo, that's a cold precept. Write that down, right? The brother put, that is cold. That is a cold one. That is an absolutely cold precept. Brother Alan Cupid, the water king, all praise to the Most High. Right? Any questions, family? Any questions? Right. So again, make sure you guys like, share the video. Right. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. Right. Make sure you also subscribe to House of Bread. Right. These brothers have been doing an amazing job through the Spirit and Power of YAHAWAH, doing lessons every Monday. Right. I'm just getting back in the swing of things. Being a new father.
Praise the Lord.
Has been an amazing experience, and it's so funny because for years I said I ain't having kids in Babylon. The Most High God, he laughed at that, right? Because my plans meant nothing, and we have a beautiful baby boy named YAHAWAH. I want a baby girl now. So look how that works.
You done got him started.
But all praise to the Most High. Brother KOY Israelites put Ecclesiastes 3:18. Let's get that real quick.
Book Ecclesiastes, chapter 3 and verse 18. I said in my heart concerning the state of the sons of men, that God might manifest them, and they might see themselves are beasts.
Another cold one.
God.
Another cold one. Right, write that down too. Right. Shout out to the brothers, you know what I mean, in the chat, providing cold precepts, right? Adding to the lesson, right? To help bolster that point, right? So what I want to do, right? Let's go back to this, right? So, boom. Here we have. Actually, let me go. Boom. Present. Let's go back. So going back, right? Here we have the breakdown of Creation Week, right? Creation Week. All right. We have day 1 through 7, right? They're not literal days, right? The same way when we look at Ezra's 12 parts in Second Ezra's the 14th chapter, right? These parts are not literal days, or these parts are spans of 1,000 years. Okay. So again, right, in day 1, you have pre-existing water. We see the Elohim, they create light, right? How do they create light? Right? Because their energy, their spirit is moving upon the face of the deep, moving upon this water, right? And they're creating, they're carving, they're basically water benders, right? They're just bending the water, right? And bending matter, right? And they're carving the fundamental building blocks for everything that is this world, right? Everything is made up of matter, right? You matter because you're made up of matter, because God created you, right? And I'm only talking to the Israelites, because everyone else, y'all don't really matter, right? You're necessary, right? Because we need someone to rule over, right? But again, this energy is moving over this medium known as water, right? And as they're creating these and bending this matter into different forms of matter, right? You have electrons that are moving from elevated states of excitement and lowering back down, right? And that phenomena, right, creates light. It's called spontaneous emission, and then something also known as Cherenkov radiation. We went into that, right? That's what's going on in day one, right? Then day two, right? We have the firmament is created. The firmament is a hemisphere, a half sphere that separates the waters from above from the waters below. Right. Day three, we see the land dried up. Right. Waters gather to one place and vegetation is created. Right. Then on day four, we see the sun, the moon, and the stars are created. Right. The sun to rule the day, the moon to rule the night, along with the stars. Right. Separating light from darkness. Day five, we see animals and human beings being created, as we saw in Second Ezra chapter 6, verses 47 to what's that? 52, right? And then on day 6, we see the domestication of animals, Adam being chosen from amongst men to rule after he's given the breath of life, which is the law, statutes, commandments, the Torah, right? Of course, day 7, God ceased from his work, right? The angels are no longer creating, right? And then now when we line this up with the 12 parts, right? You got part 8, right? 9, 10, 11, 12, right? Again, also day 1 through 7, these are also part of these parts. So day 1 is part 1, day 2 is part 2, so forth and so forth, right? Then part 9, right? Again, this is all part of human history. Human history begins from day 5 all the way to part 12, right? We are within the 12th part, right? And we're getting very, very close to the end, right? And what do we see according to biblical prophecy? We see Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, right? When we get to the 10th part, right, which is during Ezra's time, 9.5 parts by the time that he's giving us this understanding of how human history is summed up in 12 parts. 9.5 parts had already happened or already passed, and there was 2.5 parts remaining from that time, right? So from Ezra to now, it's been over 2,000 years, right? Within 400 years from that time, Christ would come, right? Christ lived over 2,000 years ago, right? Now, what did Hosea 6 say? It said that he will revive us. Actually, you want me to get that from you again? All right, he was Hosea 6.
Yeah, Hosea 6, right?
Yep. Yashaya, I'm not too sure, but just make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell icon, and you'll see. You'll be notified when I do another Hebrew lesson.
And this is the book of Hosea, chapter 6, verse 2. After 2 days will he revive us. And the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight.
So we will live in his sight during the new eon, right? The age of Yahawashi's perpetual reign, right? That will be in the third day, right? Right. This is after 2 days he will revive us. We haven't been revived yet, right? We are living, right, in this time period. So from the time that Christ came, which is, let's say, 10.9, right? We're looking at these parts right around 10.9, because at the time in which Ezra prophesied, 9.5 parts had already passed. They were within the 10th part, right? And it's 2.5 remaining. By the time Yahawashi comes, you're around 10.9. Between 10.9 and 12, that's a little over 2,000 years, and it's been a little over 2,000 years since Yahawashi came and gave us, a little jolt. You know what I mean, right? But we have not been completely resuscitated, and we're not living in his sight right now, right? We're patiently waiting for him, for the Most High God to give him that dominion and send him to deliver us, of course, with the hosts of heaven. Okay, so that's the summation of Genesis, of course, the first chapter, and how it fits within the grand scheme of human history and this thing we call life. Brother Yashar made a great question. He says that the sun is a ball of fire. Doesn't it need air to keep it lit? So why do they say the sun is in outer space and there's no air out there? That's a great question. See, when you start to question the stuff that we were taught, you realize that this shit don't make sense
at all.
It don't make sense. Again, you cannot believe in the Bible and believe in a ball spinning around the on its axis 1,000 miles per hour, curling through space time. That just does not make sense. It does not make sense.
You can't feel it.
Yeah, so fast that you can't feel it. Then they also told us in school that the moon is reflecting the sun's light off of our shadow. That's how the moon gets its light. Well, why can I see the sun and the moon in the sky at the same time? Oh, because it's how God created it. Exactly how the Bible describes. Right? So great point. So Jezreel. So I don't understand the question. It says, so Adam and his descendants is after the flood? No, Adam is pre-flood. Pre-flood, right? Yeah. Just stick around, right? Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell icon, right? When we go into Genesis 2, that'll all be made clear.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if brothers getting confused, bro. We're only saying Adam. We all come from Adam based on the fact that Noah comes from Adam, not that we're all descending from Adam.
Yeah. So when you read it, when you go into like I think it's Genesis, I think 4 or 5. I think 5. It says that after it says that Adam begat Seth, right? After Cain killed Abel, Cain literally leaves and he goes. He finds a wife, and then he's afraid of people that are going to kill him, and he builds a city. None of that makes sense if we believe what mainstream Christianity teaches, that Adam and Eve were the first 2 human beings. Again, the Bible is very clear. Humankind was created on the 5th day. Adam was selected on the 6th day. Go back, brother. Go back to when we dive into 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter. On the 5th day, we see Enoch and Leviathan being separated out of the water. Leviathan representing aquatic life. Enoch representing humanity. That's on day 5, which is, again, a span of 1,000 years, not literal days. Then on day 6, Adam is chosen on the 6th day. He's chosen on the 6th day and given the breath of life, which are the laws, the statutes, commandments. So it's very simple. Just go back and follow along. Who were his parents? No. It's irrelevant. He had parents.
Yeah.
He had parents. Right? No. God is not Adam's physical father.
Yeah.
Adam had a literal physical father. Very, very simple and plain to understand. All praise to the Most High. Any other questions? Any questions?
I'm confused by that question.
All right. All praise to the Most High. So again, family, make sure you guys like and share the video. Right. Make sure you subscribe to both this channel, Yasharahla, as well as the House of Bread. Right. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up. I'll put it on the screen. So make sure you are subscribed to both channels. So let me go ahead and present. Share screen. No. All right, so again, we've been live streaming also here on House of Bread, right? Go ahead and like the video, right? Share it, right? Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell icon, right? Because a lot of times I do simulcast here on House of Bread, so make sure you subscribe to House of Bread. Let me put the link to the channel in the chat. Make sure you guys are subscribed. If you subscribe to me, subscribe to this channel. Right, the brothers here helping me out today. They've been doing live classes every Monday through the Spirit and Power of Yahawashi. Put it in the wrong chat, right? So boom. Yo, I honestly, brother, like the elders said, listen, if a nigga don't get it, we're moving on. Jezreel, start the video over from the beginning and pay attention.
God.
Just simple. Just pay attention. No, who cares who Adam's parents were? They're irrelevant. He had parents. Eve had parents because human beings were collectively created on the 5th day. Adam was just chosen and elevated and selected on the 6th day. Very simple. All right. So again, make sure you guys, all right, subscribe to House of Bread. And all praise to the Most High. Right. And then tomorrow I will be live tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here at Yasharahla. Right. I will be reviewing this this debate between the good brothers at Jacob's Lantern, right? Shout out to them brothers, man. Love y'all brothers. They pulled up on the home of the truth under commanding General Yahawashi, third in command under Yahawashi, right? The leader of Israel, the nigga who don't have a Hebrew name, right? They pulled up on these niggas, these dominatrix niggas in black leather, right? And it was a bloodbath from what I was told, right? So I haven't watched it, right? We're gonna tune in tomorrow, right? And I'm gonna review this, and we're gonna listen. I'm a little different. It's funny. We're doing the Genesis breakdown, right? Shout out to my brothers at Genesis, Deacon and Hassad. Listen, I'm not the friendly brew, right? I'm not, right? No, they'll of course swing the sword and chop down false doctrine of brothers in this truth, right? And I salute them brothers for that, right? And they do it in a very respectful manner, a very politically correct, respectful manner. I'm not that guy, right? The ISUPK is not the home of the truth, right? They are the home of lies, all right, and the home of Satan, right? And they got destroyed and demonstrate why they're not the home of the truth. Right? These niggas got the nerve to say that John the Baptist, who Yahawashi says is the greatest prophet ever, is somehow not in the truth. Insanity. Right? So we're gonna react to this, right? We're gonna react to this. Listen, that's a dope ass sound, but I gotta get me a soundboard, man. I mean, I'm way worse. Listen, I'm worse, right? My name is Lion of God, right? And I'm here to roar on these evil niggas, right? So tune in tomorrow as we dive into that through the spirit and power of Yahawah shanyam-ishar, right? Again, one last time, any other questions? Any questions? That's hilarious. Home of no growth. That is pure comedy. If there's no other questions, all right, we're gonna wrap it up. All praise to the Most High. All right.
Most High. Shalawam, nation.
All praise to the Most High. Again, with that, I want to give all praises, all glory, and all honor to the Most High God, whose name is Yahawah. Of course, I do so in the name of His only begotten Son, Mashiach Yahawah, who the world even calls Jesus Christ. Till next time, Shalawam, family, and Matawathya.
Waffle ball.